They found out that I had hemophilia when I was 2.
This is the story of Jonathan Hill,
John rolls a death save.
a young boy who discovered Dungeons & Dragons gave him a life filled with adventure.
In D&D, you can't win unless you work together as a team.
Surrounded by his best friends, John escaped his hospital bed for worlds beyond imagination.
I think one of the things the readers will find is how important my friends are to me.
I think you're ready to become a dungeon master.
This is Blood of the Paladin podcast. Hi, it's Catherine, and you're listening to the audio version of the graphic novel Blood of the Paladin. Last episode, I introduced you to Jonathan and the game Dungeons & Dragons. We talked about the positive impact the game has on the players, and how it inspired Jonathan to advocate for himself and other people like him. We'll talk to Jonathan and his friends more next week, but this episode is more of a movie for your ears. So sit back and relax, close your eyes if you can, and get swept away into the epic adventures of Blood of the Paladin. Enjoy!
Damn it! Oh, God. What the hell? That's me. I'm Jonathan Hill, and I'm going to tell you the story of how Dungeons & Dragons saved my life. It's January 2008, and I'm throwing up blood in a hotel in Portland. It's after a long day of meetings and an awesome dinner, but something had upset my stomach. Yeah, well, if I'm being truthful, everything was upsetting my stomach in those days. I thought maybe it was some kind of intestinal flu, but the blood was something else. That made it a hemophilia problem, and that meant I had to call Dr. T at the Hemophilia Treatment Center.
Hello.
Hello? Hi, I'm Jonathan Hill. I'm a patient of Dr. T's. I have severe hemophilia, and I just started vomiting up blood.
Okay, Jonathan. I'm connecting you to Dana. She's the nurse practitioner on call.
John, this is Dana. Can you tell me what's going on with you tonight?
Hi, yeah, I'm in Portland, Oregon on a business trip, and I have bad abdominal pain and nausea, and just now I started vomiting up blood.
Jonathan, you're on factor 8, right? Have you taken any today?
Yes. No, my prophylactic day was yesterday.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I want you to stay calm. You're gonna hang up the phone and call 911. Is your medical alert bracelet visible?
No, it's at home. It broke a few months ago.
And your travel letters?
They're at home, too.
John, I need you to focus. Hang up the phone and call 911. And then call me back when the paramedics are en route.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, 911. What is the emergency? Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello, John, you have to roll. As my head hit the floor of the hotel carpet, inches from my bloody, sick mess, my mind jolted back to Andy's mom's basement. A safe haven for tall, lanky teenage pals who just wanted to spend their days playing out battles and adventures with fists full of dice amid stacks of Dungeons & Dragons manuals. John rolls a death save. That's Ian. He and I loved the band Rush, and we were somehow always competitive about who had the latest tour shirt. Who knows why. Also at the table, as always, was the rest of our troupe, Dan and Mike. We were 14 and deep in the midst of a D&D campaign.
John, you failed your save. The Demolic uses one of its magical gem eyes to suck your soul out of your character's body. Your paladin, Bytor, slumps to the floor, lifeless, as your companions look on in absolute horror.
Ooh. With my childhood fading back into the past, I woke up, slowly and painfully, in a hospital bed with my dad eyeing me from the chair across the room. I could feel the weight of my new beard on my face. Could also feel the weight of my dad's disappointment. Heck, I could feel the weight of everything.
Hey there, mountain man.
What? What? Well, I was in a hotel. Oh, Dad, what happened?
Try not to move too much. You've been out the better part of a week. You had what they called a varices rupture, I think they said. The veins inside your throat were enlarged from the liver disease. And a vein burst.
Liver disease? I thought that was fixed with the hepatitis C treatment. I'm supposed to be fine now, I thought.
You don't have hep C anymore. But what the virus did to your liver, John, it's permanent damage.
How did they stop the bleeding?
It wasn't easy. There was no way of knowing you had hemophilia. When I got here, you were still in the ICU. Nothing they were doing was working. There wasn't even a hematologist at the hospital. I had to beg them to start the Factor VIII treatment. If you had just had your medic alert bracelet on...
So it's my fault?
You still need to take responsibility for your medical condition. It doesn't go away just because you're an adult. You have to advocate for yourself. I'm not always going to get there in time, and I'm not going to be around forever.
We stopped talking for a while, sitting instead in silence, listening to the quiet hospital sounds the way two men who care about each other tend to when they've reached a stubborn impasse. So we talked about nothing for a bit, and after a lazy see you later, I started to doze again. That was enough excitement for tonight. As soon as my eyes began to close, Rush started to fill the silence inside my mind. Prime Mover, a song that always seemed to be stuck on repeat in my jukebox head. Doesn't bother me though, Rush has awesome lyrics. They're just an awesome band any way you slice it, really. And if I can focus, I can press play on the entirety of Hold Your Fire front to back. Every song, every lyric, every note. But tonight it was actually just one phrase. From the point of ignition to the final drive, the point of the journey is not to arrive. Anything can happen. Memory is like time travel. You always want to revisit the important stuff with the hope of maybe finding something new or getting that feeling again. But the past doesn't change. It just fogs over bit by bit until only the most vivid points stick out, like a mountain peak above the clouds. A lot of times for me, it's the pain that peeks through those clouds. In 1980, I was 11 years old. My dad took our Boy Scout troop on our first big hiking trip of the year. I had a full bag on my back, clothes, sleeping bag, tent, food, the whole thing. It was a lot for my little body.
Come on, John. We're over halfway to the summit.
I can't, Dad. My ankle hurts. I'm exhausted. I'm not like the other guys. I should just give up.
You want to know the secret to hiking?
I guess.
Don't look ahead to the summit. Just focus on putting one foot in front of the other. You do this, and before you know it, you'll be standing on top of the mountain. Can you do that?
Yeah, I think so.
One step in front of the other, John. Here we go.
Later that night, with a heart full of pride and a leg full of pain, I propped my ankle up on a log. My dad took one of the ice packs that was still decently cold and strapped it to my ankle with some ace bandage.
I'll get the infusion kit. I'm very proud of you today. You fought through the pain and reached the summit. How cool was that? What of you?
As I was sitting there, I remember thinking, Dad believes in me so much, but why? I mean, he was right about reaching the summit. I just had to put one foot in front of the other. Maybe he's right about me too.
Okay, here we go. Infusion time.
Getting infused was something I got used to, but doing it myself was something else. 6 months later, I found myself sitting at our kitchen table, my left ankle once again elevated and wrapped with ice and an ace bandage. They call it a target joint when the bleed keeps happening in the same place. I had my kit all set up and was talking myself into doing an infusion of Factor VIII. A self-infusion. My first. Well, technically. I had learned to do it at summer camp with my cabin mates, but I'd never actually started one completely by myself. I knew the steps. Heck, I had seen my folks do it 1,000 times over. But warming and mixing the medicine was one thing. Sticking a needle in my own vein was something else. The thing was, my parents had promised me that I could get a dog if, and only if, I learned to self-infuse. I really wanted that dog, I had for a long time, almost all summer. And if this is what I had to do, well, things could be worse. Here goes nothing. I tightened the tourniquet around my upper arm to help my vein pop up. I ripped open the alcohol swab and I wiped the skin on the inside of my left elbow. I filled the syringe with Factor, attached the butterfly needle, and holding it by the blue translucent wings, I took a deep breath and went for that vein.
Ah! Oh, man, I did it!
I held up my end of the bargain, and so did my folks.
Come on, champ. Let's go. Good boy.
And how long until we're stuck walking this dog ourselves?
1 foot in front of the other, hon. 1 step at a time.
By the time I was 13, I learned to escape the lulls of having frequent bleeds and being isolated during healing and hospitalization by diving into books. I fell in love with science fiction and fantasy and tumbled willingly deep into the worlds of J.R.R. Tolkien, Frank Herbert, Isaac Asimov, H.P. Lovecraft, and the like. The list goes on. And while confined to a hospital bed for weeks, I would dream up new adventures for the characters I'd met. My active imagination and love of story became the foundation of several lifelong friendships. This is actually how I found myself in Ian's bedroom one afternoon, about to start my very first journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Thanks for inviting me to play, Ian. I'm sorry I missed character creation night. I was sick. I had food poisoning.
No worries. We're just glad you can play now. How's your ankle?
What? There's nothing wrong with my ankle.
Come on, John. I know you had an ankle bleed. It's no big deal. You told me about your hemophilia this summer, remember?
Sorry, I don't know why I lied. I don't want you guys to think I'm different or weird or weak.
No way, man. We're friends. No stupid disease is gonna change that. Here, roll again.
I don't know what character to play.
You could play a fighter, a magic user, a thief, a cleric. You could be anything you want. Do anything you want. In this world, the only limitation is our imaginations.
And that's when I saw him, covered in shiny armor, with gleaming sword and shield held up, ready to conquer anything or anyone that stood in his way. What's this knight-looking guy? What's a paladin? He looks invincible.
Paladin are noble holy knights that follow a code of truth and honor. They are protectors of the innocent and slayers of monsters.
I want to be one of those. I want to be brave, honorable, and fight monsters. It sounds like an Eagle Scout. I'll call him Bytor.
So now you need to pick your paladin's order.
An order?
It's a path or oath that Bytor will dedicate himself to. Here's a list of orders that you can choose from.
Oh, I like this one. Dedicated to protecting the innocent and protecting life at all costs. Their motto, choose life. I choose the Order of the Light.
Good choice.
How do you know so much about all of this?
I read the books. I like being the dungeon master. The DM's the guy who runs the game. Think of me as the narrator. I set the scene, I place the pieces on the map, and then you and the other players bring the story to life.
And so began our first epic campaign. Ian had set it in Middle-earth, starting in the Shire with an exploration of the Barrow Downs, the cairns of the long-dead kings of Arnor, which were haunted by the Barrow Wights. I gotta say, it was a harrowing adventure involving endless hordes of the undead and lots of royal treasure. It was right up the alley of our hobbit thief, played by Ian. I played my first paladin, still my favorite class, by the way. And together, we hunted a rising evil threatening the wilds of southern Mirkwood Forest. Ian drew a massive staircase onto the megamat descending into the heart of Dol Guldur, the mountain of the Necromancer, and he moved our figures down along the path.
Your party has descended the stone stairs into the heart of the volcano. The chamber is filled with smoke from the pools of lava surrounding the center platform upon which the Necromancer's throne sits.
My paladin, Bytor, steps confidently across the floor of the chamber, his silver plate armor reflecting the glow of the flames.
By his side is Glarnak, the battle-worn dwarf. He breathes heavily, removing his double-bladed battle axe from his back, and spins it readily in his ragged, filthy hands.
I am by your side, Bytor.
And on his left,
Almar, the Elven Ranger, stands silently, sword also drawn, slicing the thick volcanic air in smooth circles, ready for battle.
And I, Baitor, we're ready.
Baitor unsheathes his elven broadsword and shouts!
In the name of the Order of Light, show yourself, Necromancer. We do not fear you.
Seriously? So much for the element of surprise.
The walls of the chamber begin to rumble and quake with an unworldly force of power. Gurgling magma starts to boil and splash into the thick volcanic air. The smoke in the chamber starts to thicken, obscuring your view. For a moment, the oxygen in the room seems to evaporate, as if being pulled like a tide into one spot, the throne. Behind the black curtain, there is a crack and a blinding flash of light. As your eyes adjust and the air returns to your lungs, the black veil of smoke fumigates up the chimney of the volcano and reveals the Necromancer. With his long black cloak of death draped across his skeletal body, he grips his spiked staff with an undead-like rigidness. Horns protrude from his shoulder blades with a devilish, haunting power that makes even the strongest of men quake in their battle boots.
No big deal.
Says you.
You're toast, Necromancer.
Baitor raises his sword high, shouting, "With the power of the Order of Light!" and rushes to the center of the chamber.
Guarnak looks at Almar and shrugs.
Almar shrugs back?
And they run
rush
after
Baitor.
Sword pointing
Axe
at
drawn
the heart
and
of the
ready to kill.
Attack!
In 1983, I spent the Christmas season in the hospital, which wasn't anything new. The year before, it was my birthday. The year before that, it was Halloween. I hated hemophilia.
John, how are you feeling today?
I want to go home.
Well, buddy, we're not quite there yet. But the good news is that the pool blood from your muscle bleed is starting to recede. So it looks like we can end the bed rest soon. And then we can start having you walk short distances.
Finally. I've been stuck in this bed all week. It's so boring here.
Hey, you're doing great. Hang in there. Oh, and one more piece of good news. Your buddy Ian is back. Again. Come on in, Ian.
Hey, J-Man, how you doing?
Hey, I'm great, you know? I love spending Christmas in a hospital bed. Who wouldn't?
Yeah, well, I brought you something.
The first edition D&D Monster Manual and Dungeon Master's Guide. Wow! Ian, you didn't have to do that. Oh, I gotta start reading this tonight.
I think you're ready to become a dungeon master. You should try writing your own adventure. We can play it when you get home.
I immediately became obsessed. I read all night long that first night, scribbling notes into a notebook, and the next morning I didn't even notice as the nurse gave me my infusion IV. From that point on, it was not Christmas season, it was D&D season. And just like that, the weeks passed, and I suddenly found myself at Ian's house again, setting up my first game as Dungeon Master. And boy, was I nervous. Okay, so I pretty much spent the whole time in the hospital working on this. I hope you guys like it.
We can't wait. It's great to have you back.
John, you got this. Remember, one foot in front of the other, just like in Scouts.
Okay, guys, here we go. So, your party is entering the spooky woods with trees that are dead or dying. The air's really thick, and so you're slowly entering the spooky woods with trees that are decaying, very ugly, very quickly, and this is the home of the evil druid, and it is called the Whining Woods.
Wait, are the trees complaining?
My branches are like way too skinny and the dirt is really hard.
What? No, wait, sorry, I meant the Weeping Woods.
Nope, too late. It's the Whining Woods now.
Come on, no, can we go back? Things were good for a while, but in 1985...
Well, John, your strength and mobility has returned to your leg nicely since that muscle bleed last year. But unfortunately, I need to talk to you and your father about another issue that's come up. I'm not sure if you've heard, The HIV virus that causes AIDS has been found in the blood supply. Unfortunately, the virus has also been detected in the factor concentrate you use to treat your hemophilia. Now, we know that the virus can survive the concentration process, and patients with hemophilia are starting to test positive for the antibodies in that virus, making them become HIV positive, meaning that they have the AIDS virus in their blood. John, we tested your blood, and you tested positive for the HIV virus.
How could this happen? Someone needs to answer for this. AIDS is a death sentence.
What? That can't be true. Am I gonna die?
Blood of the Paladin is a Bloodstream Media production made possible by BioMarin. Hosted by Catherine Chen Lerner and Jonathan Hill and adapted for your ears by me, Joshua Sterling Bragg. The graphic novel Blood of the Paladin was written by Jonathan Hill with Ryan Gielen, based on Jonathan's true life story. Special thanks to the editors that helped me put this together, Allison Stoney and Christina Penny, and to the incredible cast and crew at Believe Limited that helped bring this story to life. Episodes of this podcast were directed by me, Joshua Sterling Bragg, produced by Greg Holtzman and Catherine Chen Lerner, and executive produced by Ryan Gielen. If you want to hear more podcasts like this one, check out bloodstreammedia.com, where you can find podcasts about bleeding disorders, gene therapy, community stories, menstruation, pain and how we deal with it, and so much more. That's bloodstreammedia.com.